The massive spaceship floated in the darkness of space like a crystal mountain made of light and metal. The ship was called Stellaris Apex, and it belonged to Emperor Zarkon VII, who ruled over 700 star systems across the galaxy. The Emperor stood on the command deck watching the stars through the giant window. His golden eyes had 3 pupils each, and they moved in different directions as he watched everything at once. He was not human, but a being from a race that had conquered. Many worlds' red lights started flashing everywhere, and loud alarms began screaming through the air. Something was very wrong with the ship. The computer voice spoke without any feeling, navigation core corrupted, life support failing in sectors 12, through 47 weapon systems offline. The Emperor did not move, but his long tail began to whip back and forth, showing he was very worried. His best engineers ran around trying to fix the problem, but nothing they did helped. Deep inside the ship in the small maintenance tunnels, a young human girl crawled through the tight spaces. Her name was Lily Martinez, and she was only 11 years old. She had dark hair tied back and dirt on her face from exploring the ship. She was not supposed to be there at all. She had sneaked onto the ship when it visited Earth Space Station because she wanted to see alien technology up close. Now the ship was in trouble and she found herself in the perfect place to help. Lily held her tablet computer, tight as she moved through the tunnels. The screen showed strange alien code moving like living snakes across the display. But as she watched, she began to see patterns in the chaos. The patterns reminded her of the puzzle games she loved to play, back home on Earth. She stopped crawling when she found what she was looking for, a cluster of bio-neural conduits that looked sick with digital parasites eating away at them. In the shadows near Lily, a figure watched with very old eyes. The woman had pointed ears like an elf from fairy tales. Her face seemed to change between looking young and looking ancient, as if she existed outside of normal time. On her shoulder sat a tiny dragon, no bigger than a house cat. The dragon had scales that reflected starlight even though they were deep inside the ship where no stars could be seen. The elf woman spoke softly, and her voice sounded like wind blowing through silver bells. "Interesting," she said. The dragon on her shoulder made a small chirping, sound as if agreeing with her. They both watched as the human child worked on the alien technology with her simple Earth tablet. Back on the command deck, the Emperor Chief Engineer threw 4 of his 6 arms up in the air. The engineer was named Korthek, and he came from a race called Vraxians. "Your Majesty, the quantum virus has evolved beyond our countermeasures. We have 17 minutes before complete systems failure." The Emperor's face showed no emotion because his reptilian features did not move like human faces, but his tail lashed harder, showing his deep worry. The Empire's most advanced warship was dying, and they could not even see their enemy. The virus was not like any weapon they had seen before. It attacked the ship mind, and soul-eating through defenses like they were made of paper. Every second that passed, more systems failed and more of the crew were in danger. 70,000 lives depended on finding a solution. Fast, Lily fingers moved quickly over her tablet. As she isolated the virus pattern, she noticed something the alien engineers had missed. The virus was not truly random like they thought. It followed a mathematical sequence she had seen in her advanced math class back on Earth. The sequence was based on prime numbers but hidden inside quantum fluctuations. "If I can just reverse the sequence," she whispered to herself while biting her lip. The elf woman stepped out from the shadows, moving with grace, even in the cramped tunnel. "You see what? They cannot, young one," she said. Her sudden appearance made Lily jump and she almost dropped her tablet. The girl eyes went wide when she saw the tiny dragon. "Who are you?" Lily asked in a scared voice. "Is that dragon real? As real as the solution dancing?" "At your fingertips," the elf woman answered. "I am Silvara, and this is Astara, my companion. We have watched humanity for longer than your histories remember. Continue your work because time grows short." Lily swallowed hard and turned back to her tablet. With Silvara offering strange advice that somehow made sense, she began implementing her solution. She used her human device to connect with the alien systems in ways the original designers never imagined possible. The bridge crew continued to panic as more systems failed. But then a junior officer suddenly shouted, "Your Majesty, someone is accessing the core systems from maintenance tunnel 7 Alpha. The virus is being contained. The Emperor turned his massive head toward the officer. His three pupils in each eye focusing like camera lenses. "Show me," he commanded. The main screen changed to show the maintenance tunnel security feed. There they saw something impossible. A human child, one of the supposedly primitive beings from the backwater. Planet Earth was saving their ship with nothing but determination and a simple tablet. The Emperor watched in silence as the virus began to retreat from the ship systems. One by one, the red warning lights turned back to green. The impossible was happening right before their eyes. The Emperor made a decision that surprised everyone on the bridge. "Bring the human child to me now," he commanded with his voice, making the walls vibrate with harmonic sounds. His personal guards rushed to obey, running through the corridors toward the maintenance tunnels. They moved fast because when the Emperor gave an order, it was done immediately. No one questioned the ruler of 700 star systems. Lily was still working on her tablet when the guards arrived. They were huge beings, covered in armor that seemed to be alive, moving and shifting like liquid metal. When they spoke, their translator devices turned their words into English. "Little human, the Emperor commands your presence. You will come with us now." Lily looked at Silvara, who nodded and seemed to fade back into the shadows. The girl grabbed her tablet and followed the guards. The walk to the bridge felt like the longest journey of Lily life. The guards moved fast, and she had to almost run to keep up. Other crew members stopped and stared as they passed. They had never seen a human child on the ship before. Many of them had never seen a human at all. Earth was considered a primitive world not worth visiting by most of the galaxy. Advanced races, when the bridge doors opened, Lily gasped at what she saw. The command center was bigger than her whole school back home. Strange aliens of every shape and size worked at stations that floated in the air. Holographic displays showed information in languages she could not read. And in the center of it all sat the Emperor on a throne that seemed to be made of living crystal. Emperor Zarkon VII was even more impressive up close. He was 3 times taller than any human, with scales that shifted color like oil on water. His golden eyes with their 3 pupils each studied her with an intensity that made her want to hide. But she stood as tall as her small frame allowed and clutched her tablet. "Like a shield, you saved my ship," the Emperor stated in a voice that had many tones at once. "How did a human child do what my best engineers could not?" Lily tried not to shake as she answered. "The virus was not really alien, Your Majesty. It followed Earth-based mathematical principles, prime number sequences hidden. In quantum fluctuations, I just played with the patterns until they made sense to me." What Lily did not tell the Emperor was how Silvara had whispered hints in her ear. She did not mention how the tiny dragon Astara had breathed a small flame that somehow powered her tablet when the battery should have died. She kept these secrets because something told her they were not ready to be shared with the galaxy. Yet Commander Korthak ran diagnostics on his multiple screens using all 6 of his arms at once, confirmed, "Your Majesty. All systems are recovering. The virus has been completely purged." The child solution worked perfectly. The bridge crew began to whisper among themselves in their various languages, but they all expressed the same amazement. A human child had done the impossible. The Emperor's expression was hard to read on his reptilian face, but something like wonder seemed to shine in his golden eyes. "Tell me, young human, what reward would you request for saving the lives of 70,000 souls? Any treasure in my empire could be yours. Any world to rule as your own, name your price, and it shall be granted." Lily looked around the bridge at all the advanced technology and the alien beings who had traveled between stars. She thought about what she really wanted more than any treasure. "Could I learn?" she asked in a small voice. "Your technology, I mean. And maybe Earth could learn too. We want to understand the universe like you do. We want to be part of something bigger than just one world high above on the observation deck, hidden from most sensors." Silvara watched with a smile on her ageless face. "The child chooses wisdom over wealth," she said quietly to Astara. "Perhaps humanity is ready for the next step after all." The tiny dragon made a sound like musical bells and spread its wings, catching light that should not exist in that shadowed place. The Emperor stood from his throne, which was something he rarely did for anyone. His great height made even the tallest crew members look small. Your request shows wisdom beyond your years, young human. But what you ask for has never been granted to a primitive species before. Earth does not meet the requirements for contact under our laws. Your people still fight among themselves and have barely left your own world. But we can learn, Lily said with more confidence now. We are young, but we grow fast. My teacher says humans are curious and creative. We see things differently than others do. Maybe that is not a weakness. Maybe it is a strength. Like how I saw the pattern in the virus when your engineers could not. The Emperor's tail swayed slowly as he considered the child words. Around him, his advisors began transmitting messages to their various departments. The law was clear about contact with primitive species, but the law had never considered a situation where a primitive species child saved the Emperor's own ship. This was new territory for everyone. Korthak spoke up from his station. Your Majesty, the key child has a point. The virus should have been unstoppable. Our best defenses failed, yet she solved it with a device that our scanners classify as a toy. Perhaps our standards for measuring a species' worth need to be reconsidered. The other officers on the bridge nodded in agreement, though some looked uncomfortable with the idea. The Emperor walked slowly around Lily, studying her from every angle. His movement was fluid and predatory, reminding everyone that his species had once been the apex, hunters of their world. But Lily stood still and met his gaze when he looked at her. She was afraid, but she did not let it show too much. You remind me of something I had forgotten. The Emperor finally said. Long ago, my own species was considered primitive by those who came before. We proved them wrong through actions, not technology. Perhaps it is time for the cycle to continue. He turned to face his crew. Summon the Galactic Council. We have much to discuss. The bridge erupted in activity as orders were sent across the galaxy. The impossible had happened twice in one day. First, a human child had saved the flagship of the Empire. Second, the Emperor was considering breaking the most fundamental law of galactic civilization. No primitive species had ever been granted early contact, but then again, no primitive species had ever saved the Emperor life before. Lily stood in the center of all this activity, feeling very small but also somehow important. She thought about her parents back on Earth, who probably thought she was at a sleepover with her friend. She wondered what they would think when they learned their daughter had changed the course of human history. All because she had been curious about alien technology and brave enough to help when help was needed most. The Galactic Council chamber was a sphere of pure energy, floating in space between dimensions. Representatives from hundreds of species appeared as holograms, each in their own section of the sphere. The Emperor image dominated the center as he stood before them with an expression that dared anyone to challenge him. The emergency session had been called so fast that some representatives were still organizing their thoughts. Earth shall be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Alliance effective immediately, the Emperor declared. Furthermore, the human child, Lily Martinez, is hereby named honorary technical advisor to the Imperial Fleet and shall be granted access to our educational archives. His words rang out across the chamber, causing an explosion of reactions from the gathered beings. The Korvath ambassador crystal form pulsed with agitation, sending light patterns that expressed extreme disagreement. Your Majesty, the humans are barely type 0.7 on the Kardashev scale. This is unprecedented. They still burn fossil fuels. They have not even colonized their own moon properly. How can we possibly consider them ready for galactic membership? Other voices joined the protest. The Zelani representative, whose species looked like floating jellyfish, made sounds like wind chimes. The humans are violent and divided. They have weapons pointed at each other on their own world. What happens when we give them access to real technology? They could destroy themselves and take others with them. So was having my flagship saved by one of their children. The Emperor countered with a tone that silenced the room. Perhaps our metrics for measuring a species' worth need revision. We judge by technology and unity, But we forget that innovation and courage matter too. The human child saw what none of my engineers could see. She saved 70,000 lives with nothing but creativity and determination. Back on the Stellaris apex, Lily sat in quarters that had been hastily converted for human habitation. The alien furniture had reformed itself to match her size, and the air had been adjusted to Earth normal. But the most amazing thing was the holographic interface that surrounded her. Thousands of technical manuals and scientific texts floated in the air around her. She could not read the alien scripts yet, but the mathematical formulas sang to her in a universal language. A shimmer in the air announced Silvara presence. The elf woman materialized as if stepping through an invisible door with Astara perched on her shoulder. The tiny dragon wings were spread for balance and its eyes glowed with an inner light that seemed very old. "You have changed the course of human history," Silvara said as she settled gracefully into a chair that reshaped itself to accommodate her. "Your species was scheduled for contact in another 2 centuries. Silvara continued, "But sometimes the universe has other plans. You showed them something they had forgotten. That wisdom does not always come with age and that solutions can come from unexpected places. The council debates, but the decision is already made. The Emperor will not back down from his declaration." "Are you aliens too?" Lily asked, reaching out tentatively toward Astara. The tiny dragon chirped and nuzzled her hand with a snout that felt warm like summer sunshine. "I mean, you look different from the others. And that dragon is not like anything in our science books. Where do you come from?" "We are observers," Silvara replied with a smile that seemed to hold secrets of ages past guardians when necessary. "We have walked between worlds since before your son was born. We watch for moments like this when a species stands at a crossroads. Today you proved that humanity possesses something rare, the ability to see beyond the barriers of your own understanding." Lily thought about this as she petted Astara, who had crawled into her lap and was making sounds like a happy cat. "Why did you help me in the tunnel?" she asked. "You told me things that helped me solve the virus, but you stayed hidden from everyone else. Are you hiding from the Empire?" "To not hiding," Silvara said. "Simply not ready to be seen by most. The galaxy knows us in legends and myths, but few believe we still exist. We prefer it that way. It allows us to help when needed without the complications of politics and power. Your Emperor is wise, but even he is not ready for all the universe secrets." The holographic display around them suddenly changed, showing the Galactic Council chamber. The debate was getting heated with representatives arguing in hundreds of languages at once. The translation systems were working overtime to keep up. Some species supported the Emperor decision, while others threatened to withdraw from the alliance if humans were granted membership. The Vorthon delegate, whose species looked like living storms made of electricity, sparked with anger. "This sets a dangerous precedent. Next, every primitive world will expect early contact because one of their offspring did something unusual. We have rules for a reason. Chaos will follow if we abandon them now." Chancellor Morvac of the Trimaran Confederation stood to speak, and his 3 heads looked in different directions as he did. "I have studied the incident carefully. The human child did not just solve a problem. She demonstrated lateral thinking that our own scientists lack. Perhaps we have become too rigid in our ways. Perhaps the humans can teach us something we have forgotten." As the debate continued, Lily noticed something interesting on one of the floating screens near her. It showed a map of the galaxy with Earth marked as a tiny dot on the edge of one spiral arm. But there were other markings, 2 faint lines that connected Earth to other systems in patterns that looked almost like the virus code she had solved. Silvara noticed her attention and nodded. "Yes, you see it? The connections that already exist. Your species may be young, but you are not alone. Humans have been touched by the cosmos in ways you do not yet understand. Artists who dream of alien worlds. Scientists who discover principles they should not know. Children who solve impossible problems. You are all connected to something greater." "Do you mean humans have met aliens before?" Lily asked with excitement. "Ancient aliens like in those TV shows my dad watches. Did they build the pyramids and stuff like that? She was practically bouncing in her seat, which made Astara chirp, in protest and resettle himself. Not in the way your entertainment suggests. Silvara laughed and it sounded like silver bells. But influences, yes. Whispers in dreams. Ideas that seem to come from nowhere. Moments of inspiration that push your species forward. We plant seeds, but humans make them grow in ways we never expect. That is what makes your species special. The council debate was reaching a critical point. The Emperor had remained silent during most of it, but now he stood again. I will make this simple, he announced. Any species that votes against human membership will lose all trade agreements with the Empire. Any species that threatens Earth will face the full might of the Imperial fleet. The humans are under my protection. Now, the chamber went silent as the implications sank in. The Empire controlled the major trade routes and had the most powerful military in known space. To oppose the Emperor on this meant economic and political isolation. Even those most against human contact had to reconsider their position. The vote when it came was closer than anyone liked, but it passed. Humanity would join the galactic community. Earth would receive teachers and technology. The process would be slow and careful to avoid culture shock, but the door was now open. And at the center of it all was an 11-year-old girl who had snuck onto an alien ship because she was curious. A girl who had saved an empire with cleverness and courage. Lily watched the council vote with wide eyes, not fully understanding the magnitude of what had just happened. Silvara stood and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Remember this moment, little one. You have given your species a gift beyond measure, but with it comes responsibility. Use it wisely. The elf woman began to fade again, becoming translucent. Wait, Lily called out. Will I see you again? I have so many questions. There is so much I want to know about you and Astara and everything. She reached out as if to hold on to the fading figure. When the time is right, Silvara voice echoed as she disappeared. We will be watching. And remember, young one, the greatest adventures are just beginning. The last thing to fade was Astara glowing eyes and the sound of his musical chirp. Then, Lily was alone with the holographic displays and the weight of history on her small shoulders. 6 months had passed since the day that changed everything. Earth was a different place now, though most people were still adjusting to the new reality. The first alien teachers had arrived and set up schools in major cities around the world. Humanity was learning that they were not alone, and that the universe was far stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. Lily Martinez had become the most famous child on Earth, though she tried to stay normal. She still lived with her parents and went to regular school, but now she also attended special classes at the Stellar Academy. The academy was built in New Mexico, where the desert met the sky, and it was the most advanced building on the planet. Alien architecture mixed with human design. Creating something entirely new today was special, because the Emperor himself was coming to Earth for the Academy grand opening. Lily stood with the other students watching the sky where his ship would appear. She wore the Academy uniform, which was made of fabric that adjusted to temperature and could clean itself. Her tablet, the same one that had saved the Emperor's ship, hung at her side, upgraded with alien tech, but still familiar. The sky suddenly split open like someone had cut a hole in blue paper. Through the opening came the Stellaris apex, looking even more impressive in Earth sunlight than it had in space. The massive ship floated down slowly, giving everyone time to see it and understand that the world had truly changed. It landed in the desert, sending up clouds of dust that sparkled with rainbow colors. Emperor Zarkon VII emerged from his ship, and even though everyone had seen him on screens, his physical presence was overwhelming. He stood 20 feet tall with scales that shifted between gold and silver in the sunlight. His 3 pupiled eyes surveyed the gathered crowd of humans and aliens who had come for this historic moment. His guards flanked him, but they seemed relaxed, knowing there was no threat. Here, welcome to Earth, Your Majesty, the President of the United States said, stepping forward with other world leaders. They all looked small next to the Emperor, but they stood with dignity, representing humanity, united for perhaps the first time. In history, we are honored by your presence and grateful for the opportunity you have given our species. The Emperor's acknowledgement was a slight nod that carried more weight than any words could. Then his eyes found Lily in the crowd, and something, like a smile, crossed his reptilian features. Lily Martinez, he said, his harmonic voice carrying across the desert without need for amplification. Come forward, child. Lily walked through the crowd, trying not to trip over her own feet from nervousness. When she reached the Emperor, she gave a small bow like they had taught her in protocol class. The Emperor reached into his robes and pulled out something that made the crowd gasp. It was a crystal that seemed to contain a miniature galaxy swirling, with stars and nebulae. This is a teaching stone. The Emperor explained loud enough for all to hear. It contains the accumulated knowledge of 1,000 civilizations, compressed into a form that young minds can understand. I give it to you, Lily Martinez, not as a reward for what you did, but as a tool for what you will do. The future of human and galactic relations may well rest in your generation. Hands. Lily took the crystal with shaking hands, feeling its warmth and the way it seemed to pulse with life. Thank you, Your Majesty, she said in a voice that the microphones barely caught. I promise to use it to help everyone learn and grow together. She clutched the crystal, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the excitement of unlimited possibility. The ceremony continued with speeches from various dignitaries, but Lily barely heard them. She was focused on the crystal and the way it seemed to whisper knowledge directly into her mind. Mathematical concepts she had never imagined became clear scientific principles that Earth was centuries away from discovering made perfect sense. It was overwhelming and wonderful at the same time. As the Emperor gave his speech translated into dozens of Earth languages, he spoke of the humility Lily had taught him. We believed that technological advancement was the sole measure of a species' worth, he said, his voice resonating across the gathered crowd. But this child showed us that innovation comes not from knowledge alone, but from the courage to see familiar patterns in unfamiliar places. The humans have something we had lost in our march toward the stars, the Emperor continued. They have fresh eyes and open minds. They question what we accept and find new paths where we see only walls. This is why they must join us not in centuries but now. While they still possess this gift, the galaxy needs what Earth can offer. Later, during the reception, Lily noticed a familiar figure at the edge of the crowd. Silvara stood beneath a Joshua tree, looking no different than she had 6 months ago, yet somehow seeming to belong to every era. At once, Astara perched on her shoulder, spread her tiny wings, catching the desert sunlight in scales that reflected impossible colors. Lily excused herself from the group of important adults who were asking her questions and walked over to the tree. This is just the beginning, Silvara said when Lily approached. Humanity's greatest adventure starts now, and you, little one, have shown them the way. The elf woman reached out and touched the teaching stone, which flared brighter for a moment. Will I see you again? Lily asked the question she had held for 6 months. There is still so much I do not understand about you and why you helped me. Are there others like you watching other worlds? Do you help other species too? She had practiced these questions, hoping for another chance to ask them. When the time is right. Silvara smiled, that ageless expression that held mysteries of 1,000 worlds. There are other children on other worlds who will need guidance, but Earth is special now thanks to you. You opened a door that cannot be closed. Humanity will face challenges and make mistakes, but they will also soar among the stars. The celebration continued around them, with humans and aliens mingling freely for the first time in Earth history. Scientists compared notes with alien researchers. Artists marveled at otherworldly aesthetics. Children played with young beings from distant stars, creating friendships that would shape the future. It was messy and chaotic and beautiful. Everything that humanity brought to the galaxy. As Silvara began to fade into the afternoon shadows, she left Lily with final words. Remember that knowledge is just a tool. Wisdom comes from how you use it. Be curious but be kind. Be brave but be humble. And never forget that sometimes the smallest person can change the course of history. You have proved that already. A stara melodious trill lingered in the air after they vanished, a sound that somehow contained both farewell and promise. Lily stood under the Joshua tree for a moment longer, holding the teaching stone and feeling the weight of the future. Then she returned to the celebration where her parents were waiting with proud smiles and tears in their eyes. The academy first classes would start tomorrow, and Lily would be both student and teacher. She would help humanity take its first real steps toward the stars. But more than that, she would help them remember that technology was not the goal. Understanding was, the galaxy had given Earth a chance, and Lily had helped them earn it. That night, as celebrations continued around the world, Lily stood on her bedroom balcony looking up at stars that no longer seemed distant and unknowable. Somewhere up there were friends and allies. Somewhere up there was a future unlimited by the boundaries of a single world. And somewhere between the spaces that separate one reality from another, an ancient elf and her dragon companion watched with satisfaction. The child who had solved the unsolvable had given her species something priceless. Hope. Not just hope for technology or power, but hope for understanding and connection. Hope that humanity, small and young as they were, could contribute something unique to the cosmic symphony. Hope that the universe was not cold and empty, but full of wonders waiting to be discovered by curious minds and brave hearts. Tomorrow the real work would begin. Tomorrow, humanity would start learning what it truly meant to be part of a galactic civilization. But tonight was for celebration and dreams and the joy of knowing that a little girl, curiosity, had changed everything. The stars seemed to shine brighter as if welcoming Earth to a larger family. And in her room, Lily fell asleep holding the teaching stone, which pulsed gently with the heartbeat of 1,000 worlds. 5 years had passed since humanity joined the galactic community, and the changes were beyond what anyone could have imagined. Earth cities now had spaceports where ships from 100 worlds landed daily. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers to solve problems that had puzzled the galaxy for millennia. And at the center of many breakthroughs was Lily Martinez, now 16, and one of the most respected minds in xenotechnology. The Stellar Academy had grown from one building to a complex that stretched across the desert. Thousands of students from Earth and other worlds studied together, learning not just science, but understanding. Lily taught her unique course 3 times a week, showing others how to think differently about problems. Her students included humans, aliens, and sometimes even AI constructs curious about organic creativity. Today, Lily stood before the Galactic Council, not as a scared child, but as a confident young woman. The teaching stone, the Emperor, had given her hung from a chain around her neck, glowing softly with inner light. She was there to present her latest discovery, a way to communicate with species that existed in different dimensional states. It was a breakthrough that could open relations with beings the galaxy had only theorized about, esteemed members of the council. Lily began, her voice clear and strong. 5 years ago, you took a chance on humanity. Today I stand before you with proof that your faith was not misplaced. She activated a holographic display showing complex equations that seemed to dance in the air. This is the Harmony Protocol, a universal translation matrix that works across dimensional barriers. The council chamber buzzed with excitement as representatives discussed the implications in their various languages. The Korvath ambassador, who had once opposed human membership, pulsed with colors that indicated deep respect. Young human, you have achieved what our greatest minds could not. How did you discover? The question came from many delegates at once. Lily smiled, remembering her journey. It started with a dream, she explained. A dream where mathematics became music and music became meaning. I realized that consciousness itself has patterns that transcend physical reality. By mapping these patterns, we can find common ground with any thinking being, no matter how alien. The human approach of seeing connections where others see divisions made this possible. Emperor Zarkon VII watched from his throne with what those who knew him recognized as pride. The child he had saved from execution for stowing away on his ship had become a bridge between species. Her unique perspective born from human creativity and alien knowledge was creating possibilities no one had imagined. "You honor us all, Lily Martinez," he said formally. But his tone carried warmth as the council discussed implementation of the Harmony Protocol. Lily noticed a disturbance in the air beside her. Silvara materialized, partially visible only to Lily-enhanced senses. The elf woman had aged, or perhaps she was showing an age she had always carried. Astara on her shoulder looked tired, his scales less bright than before. "The time has come," Silvara whispered, "for endings and beginnings," after the council session ended with unanimous approval of her protocol. Lily found Silvara waiting in the academy garden. The elf woman sat on a bench that seemed to be made of crystallized moonlight with Astara curled in her lap. "You have questions," Silvara said before Lily could speak. "You always have questions, that is what makes you special. Who are you really?" Lily asked, sitting beside her old mentor. "Why have you watched humanity? Why did you help me that day on the ship?" After 5 years of wondering, she needed answers. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but Silvara and Astara were the mystery that had started her journey. "We are the last of the first," Silvara said simply, her voice carrying the weight of eons. "Before your galaxy was born, before stars learned to shine, we walked between realities. We guided young species when the universe was new. But time is our enemy and duty our chain. We cannot die, but we can fade. And our time in this reality grows." Short Lily felt tears forming as understanding dawned. "You are saying goodbye," she said. It was not a question. Astara lifted his tiny head and chirped a sound that contained all the sadness of ending things. "But why now? Why when humanity is just beginning to find its place? Why when I still have so much to learn from you because you no longer need us?" Silvara smiled, though it was tinged with melancholy. "Humanity has found its path. You have become the bridge between worlds that we once were others. We'll take up the role of guides and guardians. The universe renews itself through young species like yours. We can rest now, knowing our duty is complete." But Lily was not ready to let go. "There must be something I can do," she said desperately. "Some technology or discovery that could help you stay. The council would help if they knew the Emperor would demand it. You have given so much to the galaxy. Surely the galaxy can give something back to you." "Sweet child." Silvara laughed, and it sounded like distant chimes. "Not everything can be fixed with cleverness and determination. Some things must simply be accepted. We have existed longer than we were meant to. It is time for us to return to the spaces between and become what we always were. Memory and legend inspiration for those who come after." Astara spread his wings one last time, and Lily saw universes reflected in his scales. She reached out, and the tiny dragon nuzzled her hand, leaving a warmth that sank deep into her bones. "Remember us," Silvara said as she began to fade. Not with sadness, but with joy. "Remember that even the oldest powers in the universe believed in humanity potential." As the last traces of Silvara and Astara vanished, a new star appeared in the sky. Visible even in daylight, astronomers would puzzle over it for years, but Lily knew it was their final gift. A beacon for future generations. A reminder that the universe was full of wonders and watchers. A promise that humanity was not alone on its journey. That evening, Lily addressed Earth and the galaxy in a broadcast that reached every inhabited world. She spoke of guides and guardians, of the responsibility that came with knowledge, and the importance of helping others as humanity had been helped. She did not mention Silvara and Astara by name, but those who needed to understand did. The years that followed saw humanity rise to challenges no one expected. They became mediators in ancient conflicts and innovators in stagnant fields. They brought fresh perspectives to old problems and asked questions others had stopped asking. And always they remembered the lesson Lily had taught them, that the smallest person could change the course of history. When Lily grew old, surrounded by students from 1,000 worlds, she would tell stories of the early days. She would speak of fear and wonder of an emperor who chose wisdom over law, and of mysterious guides who helped when help was needed most. And sometimes when the stars aligned just right, she would see a glimmer of scales in the night sky and hear the echo of a dragon song. Humanity's path among the stars was not easy. They made mistakes and faced setbacks, but they never forgot their origin as the species that saved an empire with creativity and courage. They never forgot that they had been given a chance when logic said they were not ready. And they paid that gift forward, helping other young species find their way. In the great archives of the Galactic Council, scholars would debate the turning point of modern history. Some pointed to technological breakthroughs, others to political alliances, but those who understood, knew it all, began with a curious child who snuck onto an alien ship because she wondered what was out there, because she was brave enough to help when help was needed, because she proved that humanity was ready for the stars. And somewhere in the spaces between realities where time has no meaning and possibility is infinite, an ancient elf and her dragon companion pressed at last, their duty complete, their legacy secured in the hearts and minds of a species that will carry their light forward into the endless frontier of tomorrow. The Watchers have become the watched, and the universe continues its eternal dance of endings and beginnings. The child who solved the unsolvable had grown into the woman who united worlds. But more than that, she had shown that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their courage, but their ability to see wonder in the universe and their willingness to share that wonder with others. The stars no longer seemed distant because humanity had learned they were home.